You may have seen some big news recently online about the Apex Legends Season 11 content, including a brand new massive map, Stormpoint, a new playable character, Ash, and a new weapon called the Car SMG. Thanks so much to EA for not only sponsoring this video, but also for allowing me to get some hands-on early time with the new content. It was a genuine pleasure participating in the event and being able to interact with some amazing Apex community members. In this video, we're going to be taking a good hard look at the new map Stormpoint, a tropical oasis with some new deadly threats and beautiful POIs. We'll get a deep dive into the new character Ash and her skills and story, and we'll get some eyes on the Car SMG, a returning Titanfall favorite with a very unique twist that makes it stand out against the backdrop of other incredible weapons already populating the Apex landscape. You probably already saw the reveal trailers from Apex Legends showing some of the most interesting parts of the new map Stormpoint. It's a tropical haven, but its inviting and appealing aesthetic can be deceiving. First, let's cover some of the basics about the map. Stormpoint is the largest map ever made in Apex Legends, about 15% larger than World's Edge. But the most unique thing about the map that stood out to me was the clear focus on elevation. The map starts on the low end at the water's edge with serene beaches and lagoons and shallow pools, but the deeper into the map you go, the more you climb in elevation. The next major section of the map is characterized by lush foliage and rainforests with a tall canopy and green canyons. The last section of the map feels a little more like the northern tip of Kings Canyon to me. It's up in the cliffs with less foliage and more desolate drylands and structures built into the cliffside. I'll highlight some of my favorite POIs in a minute, but first there's another aspect of this map that's super unique, and that's the fauna inhabiting the land. The oceans of Gaia may be beautiful, but they're home to some new threats players have never encountered before. There are two types of creatures you'll need to look out for. First, you have the Prowlers, which were shown chasing Mirage from the beaches in the trailer. These ferocious canine creatures have nests scattered throughout the map. During my time playing the content, there was a match where my team and I were forced into a canyon to push forward to where the zone was headed, but we didn't realize the section of the map that we walked into was completely infested with prowler nests. We fought for several minutes to ward off these creatures, but it wasn't wasted time. Clearing out their nests rewards you with ammo and loot that can help you and your team get a leg up moving forward. The other creatures on the map are the deadly spiders. Unlike the prowlers, spiders will not attack unless they are provoked. Their eggs are marked clearly on the map so you know exactly where to find them. Or if you have serious arachnophobia, this will help you know what parts of the map to avoid entirely. In order to aggro the spiders, you have to shoot their eggs. This will cause them to scurry out to defend themselves. And when you shoot the spiders, you'll find that some of them will drop smart loot, where the game will take your loadout into account and drop the attachments and upgrades that you may be missing. You'll also get a little bit of damage back as a small boost to your Evo shield. You may find yourself down on your luck in the loot and attachment department and then intentionally go fight spiders to try and plug the gaps in your build. Now, Stormpoint is massive, and getting around can be slow on foot. But there are two main ways to speed up the process. First, you have the gravity cannons scattered around the map. These will launch you in preset patterns across large gaps to help you get around more quickly. But be careful. If a team is on the other end, you may be launching into a trap. You can move a little bit to the left or to the right though to alter your path just enough to avoid obvious ambushes. You have full control of your ultimate abilities, your grenades, and your weapons while flying through the air, so you may be able to line up a cheeky trick shot if you're lucky. These gravity cannons are the main focus for traveling around the map instead of the redeploy balloons like you see in Kings Canyon and World's Edge. There are some balloons on Olympus, but the Trident tends to be the popular choice for traveling the streets of the airborne city, and like Olympus, the Tridents are also available on Stormpoint since the map is so large. You and your team can fall into a vehicle and cover ground quickly if needed. As I've mentioned, Stormpoint is really friggin' big. In fact, there are 17 named locations on the map, and even more smaller settlements scattered throughout the landscape. These locations are very unique and different from one another. One of my favorite locations was the Dish, which really reminded me of James Bond GoldenEye with the dish that had the structure suspended above it. Now, I don't know if this was the inspiration for the space, but the similarities are uncanny. There are a few buildings hanging in the air above the dish and loot down underneath if you want to drop down or you get forced off the high ground. But getting out can be a problem if you get pinned down underneath there. Another one of my favorite locations was Checkpoint, an outpost sitting atop the rainforest canopy. There are several buildings and lootable locations up there, but if you drop down through the leaves and trees, you'll find more loot on the ground level below. But again, elevation is key to victory, so don't get caught down there with a team above you. Again, elevation really seemed to be a focus when designing this map. A few other key things to mention about Stormpoint: this map was designed with some specific feedback in mind. Players for years have been complaining about third-party engagements in Apex and how they make players afraid to push teams because they're worried about the team that's going to show up and disrupt the engagement. Stormpoint was made with third parties in mind. Respawn wanted players to know where the action was happening, but have a harder time getting into the thick of that fight quickly, and this helps teams have more time to finish their fights and get prepped for the next one. I feel like this was certainly actualized in my gameplay. You could hear a fight happening and know where to go, but there was a lot of cover and creatures and elevation in between you and the fight. So you could get there and find the action, but often not before the fight died down. Overall, I found this map to be visually refreshing and stimulating, while also creating new and interesting interactions in gameplay. Learning the ins and outs and best routes to take is going to take some time. But luckily, Respawn is going to dial down the other maps when Stormpoint drops, if they follow suit from their previous seasons. That way we'll have some time to really acclimate to the new environment. Now we need to talk about the new legend to the roster, Ash. Ash is an incredibly aggressive character. Her kit is all about finding your prey and pouncing quickly. She isn't particularly good at getting out of fights, but she sure is good at getting right into the middle of them. Ash's kit allows her to see where recent death boxes pop up on the map, and that helps the player know where all the action is happening. She can call attention to where these bodies are popping up so that her teammates know where to focus their efforts and where to turn their attention to. And when Ash finds a body, she can scan it to find out information on the whereabouts of the attackers. Her whole perspective is that she wants to be the apex predator. If someone is out there killing players, now she wants to know about it, and she wants to take those players down. Ash's tactical ability is really interesting and adds a completely new dynamic to the game. She throws out an electric trap that activates when a player gets too close to it. It will then reach out and tether the player, limiting their movement, sort of like an anchor point. Now this is great if you want to lock a player down or stop them from reaching a certain location. This is also great, I found, if a player is chasing you. I can throw it at my feet and then bait them into the area and punish them when they get caught. Players can still shoot back when they're tethered, but they'll be slowed and disrupted if they try to walk too far away from that tether point. They can break out by doing this, but they'll be slowed down and disrupted in the process. Ash's ultimate is very cool. Her ult opens up this one-way portal that takes her to just about any location you can see. The range on it is insane. This is a high-risk play though, because you can't come back from that location by going backwards through the portal. It stays open for a short time, allowing teammates to follow, but it also allows attackers to follow too. If you're in a pinch and you teleport away to safety, consider throwing that trap down at the other end of the portal just in case an enemy chooses to follow. But this ultimate is great if you want to set up a flank on high ground that you see above an enemy team, or if you want to get to a more strategic location. Just a really cool, raw, aggressive ultimate. I definitely enjoyed Ash's dialogue, as she has this voice in her head of the woman that she used to be. She's conflicted, and that person breaks through in these occasional moments of clarity where the voice inside is calling out for help, only to be shoved back down into her subconscious as the ruthless killer takes over again. This dichotomy really reminded me a lot of Krieg from Borderlands 2. There was the psycho killer on the outside, but a conflicting voice of the Krieg that used to be, who would butt in every now and then and try to reclaim some sense of his sanity. Ash felt a lot like this. I'll be interested to hear more of her internal dialogue the more that we get to play her. The last thing about Season 11 Escape that I want to talk about is the Car SMG. This returning Titanfall favorite is not a fancy looking gun. It looks practical, and I like that. It isn't overly sleek or futuristic, it just looks like a brawler, like it was made for shooting opponents in a rough and tumble environment, and I like that vibe. But with so many SMGs already in the pool, like the Alternator, the R99, the Volt, the Prowler, what can the Car bring to the table to stand out among these competitors? Well, the Car has a very unique feature. The Car can take both heavy and light ammo. If your teammate is running heavy weapons and you don't want to dip into their ammo supply, you can opt for light ammo instead, or vice versa. Similarly, the Car can also take light or heavy mags at any time, regardless of what type of ammo you're running. So take whatever mag you find first and swap to whichever one is better. This makes the car extremely versatile. Take what's available, don't worry about bad luck with ammo and mags. It also takes stabilizers and standard stocks. Beyond that, the car has a bit of a kick, but it has a very good hip-fire accuracy. So feel free to shoot the thing from the hip up close, and it won't disappoint you. Well, that is about it. The new Season 11 of Apex Legends is just around the corner, and it's bringing a whole lot of new content to the Apex Legends landscape. I can't wait to dive in and familiarize myself more with the ever-changing Apex experience. There's more coming in Season 11, so stay tuned to see what else Respawn has for you to look forward to. Thanks again, EA, for sponsoring this video and for allowing me to get some serious hands-on time with the new content well in advance. Be warm and well-fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you out on Stormpoint.